The 2nd century BC. Numerous trade caravans filled the expanses between East Asia and the Mediterranean Sea. The era of the Great Silk Road began. This was an era when the states located along the ancient route of distribution of goods, knowledge, cultures, and people started to flourish. The second decade of the 21st century, the modern world turns to the past. Asia and Europe are on the threshold of the birth of a new intercontinental highway. Railways, highways, transportation roads, logistics, and innovation infrastructure. Welcome to the new Silk Road.
Several thousand kilometers are separating us from the start of the transcontinental transport corridor. The Chinese port of Liaoning is behind us, and several hundred kilometers along the waters of the Caspian Sea to the ports of neighboring states are ahead. The connecting point is the coast of the Caspian Sea in the Mangistau region of Kazakhstan. We are at the next stage of our route. Here's one of the exits for transit and Kazakhstan goods to foreign markets. This is the seaport of Aktau. The present Aktau Sea Trade Port was established in 1963. First of all, the harbor was intended for transportation and transshipment of products of the uranium industry and local oil fields, dry cargo and oil loading berths. A ferry complex, roads and railways were built. Since the beginning of the 1980s, annually about 7 million tons of black gold and 300,000 tons of ore were shipped through the port of Aktau. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Aktau Seaport became the only exit to the sea routes and a strategic object for the development of the national economy of sovereign Kazakhstan. The first complete reconstruction of the facility was carried out in 1999. Today, the Aktau Seaport is a multi-functional, complex and modern entity, the western gate of Kazakhstan, where the country's most important sea, railway and automobile routes meet. The new times dictate new conditions. After the start of the implementation of the Nurly Zhol State Infrastructure Development Program in 2015, the seaport of Aktau, with its developed multimodal structure, becomes an important component of the transcontinental route. The transport and logistics hub have become a meeting point for goods transported by rail or highway, the arteries of which stretch from the southern part of China. It is from here that containers and trucks are shipped to the neighboring Caspian states by sea, then to the countries of the Middle East, and some cargo through the Caucasus reaches Europe. Thus, the port of Aktau, together with its developed infrastructure, is a key link in the global transport chain.
Звено должно быть не слабым, потому что
it should be a strong link, because any failure will contribute to the late delivery of the goods.
Груз не будет вовремя доставлен.
The special feature of the port of Aktau is transshipment of the so-called general cargo, grain, metals, building materials, fertilizers, ores, and oil. This harbor is an important part of a complex organism called the Kazakhstan Multimodal Transport and Logistics System, which involves the organic and effective interaction of a variety of tools, including various types of transport to solve the set tasks. By itself, the system is quite a complex organism, where logistics, assets, work complementing each other. The national company Kazakhstan Temir Zholi is a single managing and coordinating body which ensures a timely and high-quality execution of the company's work involved in the project.
Consolidation
of logistics assets under one umbrella of Kazakhstan Timur-Zholy gave an important impetus. We have to consider issues of cost, increased efficiency for all logistics instruments. It always involves a dispute, a debate, but we come to a concession and find a common ground.
Это большие дебаты, но зато мы приходим к какому-то консенсусу.
As an important instrument for the implementation of the Kazakhstan State Infrastructure Development Program, Nurly Zhol, the seaport of Aktau, is also a key point in the international transport corridor of the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor, TCIR, which is part of the global transport and logistics project, New Silk Road. TCIR routes were created in order to intensify cargo flows between the countries of the Caspian region, Georgia, Turkey, China, and the European countries, which fully meet the national interests of Kazakhstan and the One Belt, One Road initiative.
Транскаспийский международный транспортный маршрут,
The TCIR, or the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route Association, was established. It includes railway administrations, ports of 4 countries, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Turkey, and Georgia. Ports of Romania, Ukraine, Poland expressed their interest to join this association. Our route is multimodal complex in terms of logistics, but at the same time, we are working on our competitiveness.
Из Польши, из Украины.
The TCIR project has every chance of becoming an effective instrument to realize transit potential and develop trade on the Eurasian continent. According to the national company, Kazakhstan Timur-Zholy, the volume of cargo transportation on the Trans-Caspian route only in the first quarter of 2018 increased by 8% compared to the same period last year. And in this regard, it is not surprising to see an interest for the project from countries located on the route, which is called the Silk Wind of the New Silk Road in China. The New Silk Road is a very interesting project. Georgia has been a member of the Trans-Caspian International Transport Route since May. We are actively developing transport and logistics in our country. We do not want to lose cargo transit, and we will take an active part in the development of the New Silk Road. We think this is an important perspective. Another instrument for implementing the route of the Trans-Caspian International Transport Corridor is the first seaport of Kuryk, built during the years of independence, which is located south of the port of Aktau. New railways and motorways have been brought here. Kuryk specializes in ferry transportation of railway containers and freight trucks. Such a distinction and the construction of a second harbor in the region is caused by the limited opportunities for the expansion and modernization of the port of Aktau and the increased traffic volumes in general. As practice has shown, the decision was right. Over the past few years, the number of transit and export cargoes has increased several times. The implementation of large oil and gas projects from the west of Kazakhstan, such as Kashigan Phase 2, Kamkor, the project for the future expansion of TCO, work is also underway on Karachaganak, the development of the agro-industrial complex. All these projects will increase the tempo of development.
Также и развитие агропромышленного комплекса.
At first glance, the algorithm for transshipment of goods through a multimodal marine hub seems simple. Cargo delivered by rail or auto road goes to its terminal. Wagons and trains are all loaded on their own ferries. Then they move in the direction of the ports of Baku or Alya. Upon arrival, the transportation travels along the highways and the railways, again on a rail track to the railway station of Azerbaijan or in transit to Georgia, Turkey, or other countries of the Mediterranean basin. Goods from China, Uzbekistan, and Kyrgyzstan are shipped across the sea. Kazakhstani producers don't lag behind. Kazakhstan exports grain, metals, chemicals, fertilizers, and petroleum products. At the same time, this sea transshipment hub is still quite young. The port started to work at its full capacity only in August of this year. A new ferry complex of the Kuryk port in the Mangistau region was presented on the eve of the summit of the Caspian states with the participation of the presidents of Kazakhstan, Russia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Iran.
Транскаспийский маршрут через Kuryk позволяет создать эффективную логистику доставки грузов из Китая, стран Центральной Азии, Узбекистана, Кыргызстана, Таджикистана.
Thanks to this work in 2020, Kazakhstan plans to increase revenues from transit traffic to $5 billion a year and fully recoup the investment in the industry. This gives impetus to the flow of trade in the revived Silk Road and the development of the entire region.
От транзитных перевозок примерно до $5 миллиардов в год, тем самым полностью окупаются инвестиции, которые мы вкладываем.
The Kuryk hub includes several objects. The most basic ones are the railway and car ferry complexes. They were built at the expense of the state program Nurly Zhol. Private investments allowed to build several specialized terminals. All of these facilities, as well as the trade and logistics complex, temporary storage warehouses, container platforms, oil and gas filling facilities, are the basis of a single trans-logistics center.
Этот объект, транслогистический центр, является...
This translogistics object is actually a satellite of the port of Kuryk, which will provide all handling operations, storage, registration, parking, customs clearance for wagons and multimodal cargo handling, from rail to cars, from cars to containers, and so on.
Автомобили на контейнеризирование и так далее.
Ports infrastructure development is a continuous process. Convenient conditions are created for workers and users of the hub, as well as representatives of small and medium-sized businesses. In other words, a local industrial complex is being formed around the port. Well, as for the port itself, in the 7 months of this year, almost 1.5 million tons of various cargoes were transported through Kuryk. 60% of them accounted for export operations. Another advantage of this hub is its geographical location. Motor transport and trains, ferries can be shipped around the clock, even in the most difficult times, for navigation in the autumn and winter. It is due to the fact that the port is protected from the storms and doesn't get covered with ice. In addition, Kuryk, in contrast to the port of Aktau, is located closer to the Azerbaijani port of Alyat, and this is another point of the transcontinental cargo route. Now the port will work around the clock, day and night, despite the stormy weather, and this is another advantage. The most important thing for the client is the time of delivery. At the moment, it takes only 18 hours to get from the port Kuryk to Alyat in good weather. The total capacity of the port Kuryk is about 14 million tons of cargo per year. Speaking of multimodality, it is understood that the port will provide the full range of transshipment operations, from the transport of vehicles or railway cars on ferries to the transshipment of entire containers and other goods. Relatively recently, the principle of one window has been implemented. The port is equipped with modern equipment and highly skilled specialists, including those from the necessary customs and border services. Experts are convinced that the port Kuryk has every chance to become a model translogistics center in the Caspian region with the most advanced and operational services based on digital technologies.
Казахстан модернизировал собственные порты, включая Актау и новый порт Kuryk. То есть мы имеем 26-27 миллионов тонн перевалки.
Kazakhstan modernized Aktau port and built a new port, Kuryk. We have 26-27 million tons of transshipment. We synchronized all technological aspects with Azerbaijan on the other side of the sea. We have no problems to execute the most expeditious processing and transportation of goods. Previously, the weak link was the unavailability of the railway between Georgia and Turkey. Last year, the project was completed.
Имеем полный технологический нам необходимый пакет в плане документального обмена, автоматизации процессов, электронного обмена данных, что максимально быстро осуществлять, значит, обработку грузов.
The launch of the Kursk port as one of the key points of the implementation of the Nurly Zhol state program will entail not only increasing the volume of freight, including transit, but also expanding the export potential of the republic as a whole, and of course, new jobs. Now, the leadership of the hub faces the task of promoting the service sector, attracting multinational companies whose experience and technology will contribute to the development of the processing industry and the tourism industry. All this meets the conditions for the diversification of the national economy, its reorientation from the resource-based economy towards the development of high technologies. This is the nearest perspective, but let's talk a little about the numbers. This year, about 15,000 20-foot containers will be transported through the port of Kuryk. It is planned that 300,000 units of such containers will be transported by 2020.